In this video I want to look at three things. Is the Tesla Model 3 big enough for a family holiday? How do you charge when you are on holiday? And how much does a roof box affect range? Before buying a Tesla Model 3, I was unsure if it was big enough for a family of 4. And for day-to-day life, I've answered that question in a previous video. But yes, I do think it is big enough. Holidays have a completely different requirement for space on a car. With young children, it feels like you take everything with you on your family holiday. To fit everything in, I'm using a 2-lane Motion XT Sport roof box with roughly 300 litres of storage, just for reference. As you can see, we're taking a fair bit of baby paraphernalia with us. This all fit in with ease, and we could have actually taken a bit more. I love the bonus storage space in the boot under the tray for stowing extra bags, and I was really surprised at how this all fit in. So for the first item on this video agenda, well, yes, it is big enough for a holiday with all of our bits and bobs. Although, side note here, there's no way that I could have fit a travel cot or a high chair in, but most places provide these anyway. Next up, I was worried about how we would charge on holiday and how much of the battery would drain while the car was on idle. Our destination was only 50 miles away, so no need for charging en route, and I wasn't sure if the battery would get us all the way there, a week of short trips and home on one charge. I charged to 100% for the first time before leaving, and I also disabled Sentry mode to preserve the battery while we were there. We arrived at our destination still with 82% of the battery left. Now, I did have to make a mid-week trip that meant I needed to charge the car from the cabin, and I'm not sure if you're allowed to do this, so I parked the car in a way that passers-by wouldn't be able to see the charger, and I ran an extension lead from our cabin to the car to charge, and no one came to tell me that I wasn't able to do this. If I needed to, there was also a Tesla supercharger just a few miles from where we were staying as well. Finally, and the most interesting thing for me here, is how the roof box affects the range. My roof box is one that covers about 60% of the roof to leave space for a bike next to it. And so use these numbers as a rough estimate, as roof box sizes do vary. For reference, I normally average about 250 watt hours per mile on day-to-day driving. For the journey down, we didn't go on a motorway, it was mainly 40 to 50 mile an hour back roads. And for these 50 miles, I averaged 246 watt hours per mile, so bang on what I normally average. Now, this is much lower than I expected, but the slower speeds definitely played a part. Also, it was a bit warmer than my previous driving, as I've owned this car through the winter. The way back was a bit different. I drove mostly on a motorway for the return journey, and I spent most of the time at about 70 miles per hour. For this part of the journey, I averaged 306 watt hours per mile, and at points on the drive, the onboard computer was showing me that it was closer to 350 watt hours per mile. So at 306 watt hours per mile, that would only give me a range of about 250 miles on a full battery. Now, this is not a scientific test at all, but compared to my normal numbers, the roof box didn't affect range on the slower roads, and it had about 20% impact when we were travelling at higher speeds. I'm really interested to see what happens at the end of the summer on our next trip, when we're driving 1,200 miles to Scotland and back for another family trip. For this one, I will also have a bike on a bike rack on the back, and I'm really interested to see how does that work out when we're having to use the superchargers for this trip. If you're interested in seeing that, then make sure you subscribe, as that video will be coming soon. I hope you found the information in this video useful, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe too, as it really helps me out. Cheers.